In the walled-off Mayuyu district, one of the last safe zones in Country M, life continues behind barbed wire. A B-class superpower user named Ayato Ugumori finds his protected, leisurely life utterly boring. He spends his days gazing over the sprawling city, a picture of complete indifference. His friend suddenly appears, proposing they hunt a dangerous chimera for some much-needed excitement. Ayato's sharp eyes narrow, completely unimpressed by the reckless suggestion. Their target is a monstrous, two-headed beast, currently laying waste to the world outside. But Ayato casually brushes off the call to action, much to his friend's familiar disappointment. His childhood friend Rihito Nagahisa insists Ayato's immense power is being wasted on laziness. Rihito argues that while another B-class user rules the district, Ayato is content being a nobody. With a serene smile, Ayato counters that in a world on the brink, a quiet life is the ultimate prize. Rihito continues his argument, pointing out how the district's ruling thugs brutalize the weak for entertainment. Below them, citizens plead for their lives, desperately denying accusations of being infected. The gang's enforcers make the rules clear. Anyone even suspected of infection is denied safety and will be punished. Hiding nearby, a terrified mother and child watch on, a suspicious mark on the woman's neck sealing their fate. Their quiet attempt to flee is instantly spotted by one of the thugs. The mother makes a desperate run for it with her child, unknowingly watched by Ayato and Rihito from above. For the first time, a flicker of resolve cuts through Ayato's mask of indifference. Rihito panics at the dangerous look in his friend's eyes, trying to hold him back from intervening. He reminds Ayato of the grim reality. Those exiled by the gang are left to be devoured by chimeras. His cruel game interrupted, the thug below senses their gaze and whirls around in fury. The story flashes back to a calmer night within the district's makeshift camp. A memory reveals a time when Ayato and Rihito were inseparable, their bond drawing the ire of a local bully. The bully Sean makes his move, kicking an object towards them to assert his dominance. Rihito bristles with anger, ready to confront Sean for his constant provocations. Ayato, however, remains unfazed as the thugs threaten them, demanding absolute obedience to their leader. In a quiet act of defiance, Ayato calmly crushes the can under his foot, questioning their authority. A faint blue aura surrounds him as he lifts the mangled can, silently challenging Sean's supposed superiority. With a flick of his wrist, he sends the crushed can flying like a bullet. The projectile strikes a thug's meal with pinpoint accuracy, creating a spectacular mess. Back in the present, Rihito recalls how Ayato has always dealt with bullies, finding their daily antics merely a nuisance. Back in the present, the thug grabs the mother, declaring her infected and ordering her execution. The woman pleads desperately, explaining the mark on her neck is from a chimera, not the infection. Her cries are ignored as the thug violently rips away her protective hood. He points to the bite mark on her neck, using it as the final proof of her guilt. The scene shifts to a woman's bare feet, shackled in heavy iron chains. This new white-haired woman is being escorted by Ayato and Rihito through the dark alleyways. Her piercing purple eyes analyze the situation, questioning the claims of infection. Suddenly, Ayato intervenes, grabbing the thug's arm and stating the mother and child haven't mutated yet. The thug argues that a chimera bite is a death sentence, leading to mutation within 3 days. He furiously challenges Ayato, yelling that it's impossible to know for sure if they're infected. The desperate mother changes her story, now claiming the marks are from her abusive husband, not an infection. She explains her daughter is gravely ill with a fever, pleading for help to save her life. Ayato boldly offers to take them in, promising to handle any consequences himself, which only enrages the thugs. The enforcer sneers at Ayato, asking if his earlier display of power wasn't a clear enough warning. Just then, the shackled woman speaks for the first time, calmly confirming the mother is not infected. The thugs speculate about her identity, wondering if she's a healer or merely the boss's property. Her profile is revealed, Anna Sumeragi, a C-class psychic with the power to heal. Anna coolly challenges them to believe her or not, leaving a chibi-fied Ayato stunned that she spoke at all. Rihito cheekily explains to his friend that giving someone food is a good way to get them to talk. The argument is cut short as a new figure shoves through the crowd, demanding to know what's causing the disturbance. The bully from the past, Sean, arrives, identified as the district's next C-class leader. He mockingly asks if Ayato is trying to be a hero, demanding his complete submission. Sean's blade hovers menacingly over the terrified mother and her child. His fanatical followers cheer him on, pledging their undying loyalty. Ayato's eyes glow with power as he coolly challenges Sean's authority. Sean threatens Ayato with a grim fate, but Ayato just smirks back with a witty retort. The tense standoff is framed by the bleak, oppressive walls of the Muyu district. Rihito panics, desperately warning Ayato not to reveal his true power level. But Ayato simply winks, reassuring his friend that he has everything under control. Enraged by the defiance, Sean lunges forward, determined to end the conversation with force. Sean's blade meets Ayato's defense in a flash of light as the two clash. From the sidelines, Sean's lackeys mock Ayato, wondering why their boss is wasting his time. One of the thugs eagerly rips his shirt, itching to get a piece of the action himself. Ayato smirks, unimpressed by the attack and calmly noting Sean's mediocre skill. He effortlessly ducks under another vicious swing from Sean's blade. With fluid grace, Ayato continues to evade every one of Sean's frantic attacks. Sean changes tactics, attempting a surprise strike from behind. But Ayato is faster, catching the blade with his bare hand just before it connects. Furious at being stopped, Sean wrenches his knife free and manages to land a cut on Ayato's arm. Ayato clutches his wound, coolly calling out Sean's cowardice for using a weapon on an unarmed man. Sean taunts Ayato, questioning his humanity with a crazed grin, and blades at the ready. Unfazed by his injury, Ayato retaliates by kicking a flaming barrel straight at his opponent. Sean watches in shock as the fiery projectile hurtles towards him, too slow to react. Before Sean can recover, Ayato closes the distance and lands a devastating kick to his chest. The force of the blow sends Sean skidding across the alley floor, completely overpowered. Dazed and defeated, Sean struggles to get up as Ayato stands over him, ready to end the fight. From the ground, Sean furiously vows that neither Ayato nor the mother will survive this. At their leader's command, the remaining thugs charge forward to overwhelm Ayato. Suddenly, Anna steps between them, shielding Ayato and demanding they halt their attack. She then makes a bold proposition. Healing Sean will prove her own abilities and the mother's innocence. Sean sneers from the ground, crudely dismissing Anna's authority. He furiously points, declaring Ayato's decision to save them is a fatal mistake. Anna flinches at the accusation as Ayato looms protectively behind her. Ayato's bandaged fist clenches, crackling with an immense, barely suppressed power. Rihito frantically grabs his friend, warning him not to expose his true strength. Anna's determined gaze shows she's not backing down from her offer. The crowd parts as a new, imposing figure demands to know the source of the disturbance. The B-rank ward boss, Kanazawa Tanji, arrives, and Sean immediately accuses Ayato of staging a rebellion. Anna desperately tries to de-escalate, insisting it's all a terrible misunderstanding. Ayato watches her panicked reaction, wondering why the supposed boss's lover is so terrified. The ward boss expresses his annoyance, declaring that Sean's defeat reflects poorly on him. He turns his attention to Ayato, recognizing his name as Anna is pulled back in the background. The boss grabs Ayato, holding a blade to his throat and issuing a grim warning about disobedience. The sharp edge of the blade breaks the skin on Ayato's neck, drawing a thin line of blood. Ignoring his own peril, Ayato insists the conflict was with him and that the mother and child are innocent. The boss smirks, seemingly agreeing to let them go while looming menacingly over a bowing Ayato. Ayato looks up with a relieved smile, thanking the boss for his supposed mercy. Sean protests, but the boss grins, clarifying that someone must still answer for the commotion. Rihito desperately warns his friend about the district's brutal punishments, but Ayato remains resolute. With a cruel smile, the boss reveals there's one more condition to their agreement. The boss shifts his cruel gaze to Anna, identifying her as another defiant subordinate. Without warning, his blade flashes in a brutal, punishing strike. Anna collapses in agony, clutching a fresh wound on her leg as blood stains the ground. Ayato's eyes narrow as he realizes the ward boss is a tyrant who rules only through fear. The boss taunts Anna, revealing he had already tried to silence her, but her defiance persisted. Through her pain, Anna's eyes lock with Ayato's, a silent, desperate plea for help. Ayato understands her unspoken request, his expression shifting with a newfound resolve. Later, in a safe haven, Ayato assures the mother her child can finally rest and recover. Rihito worries from the doorway, feeling guilty for dragging his friend into this dangerous situation. Ayato simply smiles, advising the mother to flee the district as soon as she is able. Ayato calmly accepts his fate, ready to face the consequences of his actions. Rihito panics, begging the guards not to take his friend to the infamous 5th floor. The guards lead Ayato down a dark and foreboding corridor, the atmosphere heavy with dread. They arrive at their destination, a grim sign confirming Rihito's worst fears. the 5th floor. Inside is a desolate room, containing only a single ominous chair under a harsh spotlight. Ayato is strapped to the chair, enduring a brutal punishment as electricity surges through him. Meanwhile, a worried Rihito waits by a fire, watching over the district from afar. Filled with resolve, Rihito vows to find a way to rescue his friend from this dire situation. The punishment takes its toll, leaving Ayato slumped over, exhausted and drenched in sweat. After the ordeal, Ayato is left on the cold floor, still bound to the heavy stone block. A mysterious eye peers through a crack in the wall, a single tear tracing a path down the stone. Ayato looks up from the floor, startled by the unexpected presence and wondering who is there. The observer tries to speak, but Ayato realizes with a jolt that they have no tongue. A hand shoves a crumpled note through the opening, letting it fall to the floor. The note lands beside Ayato's foot, bearing a single, desperate plea for help. He discreetly slides the message under his body, hiding it from any potential guards. Unfolding the paper reveals an accusation. The observer knows he's concealing his true abilities. Ayato smirks, inwardly refusing to be drawn into more conflict, as he only desires a quiet existence. The girl watching him looks down in panicked desperation, her plea evident in her eyes. He clenches his bound fists, silently communicating that her request is impossible and she should give up. The girl slumps in defeat, her hope crushed by Ayato's refusal. Ayato smirks through the pain, realizing they're using him as a human battery for the district. From outside, the girl watches helplessly as another brutal session of punishment begins. Elsewhere, a cocky blonde man berates Rihito for his living conditions. He suddenly attacks, sending a shocked Rihito sprawling to the ground. The assailant sneers, mocking Rihito for being too weak to even feed himself. Another man lectures Rihito, declaring that the powerless exist only to serve the strong. He gestures to a grim scene where a family is forced to wait on a man with abilities. Rihito's gaze hardens with a new dangerous understanding of their world. With his head bowed, he silently challenges the assumption that he is one of the powerless. Rihito unleashes a hidden power, his eyes glowing with a menacing red light as he commands them to leave. His assailants are instantly stunned, their own eyes glowing red as his mind control takes hold. The power dynamic instantly flips, and his former tormentors now stand as his loyal followers. He glances back with a cunning smirk, his new plan to save his friend already taking shape. He then drops to the ground, desperately searching for the food his attackers had stolen. A small hand offers him a pouch of food, reminding him that even those with abilities can starve. Startled by the unexpected kindness, he looks up to see who is helping him. The gesture comes from a small, dirt-streaked boy, one of the very people he wants to protect. In a moment of compassion, he kneels and insists the boy take the food for himself. He walks away, knowing his mind control is only a temporary fix, especially on the weak and hungry. Rihito calls out in alarm, realizing the boy is trying to leave. He sees his former attackers regaining consciousness, his mind control having already failed. In a panic, he grabs the boy and insists they have to run immediately. The boy suddenly stops him, gripping his sleeve with a firm, determined hand. Looking up with surprising confidence, the child tells Rihito he knows a place to hide. They duck into a narrow space, listening intently as their pursuers close in. From the shadows, they watch the two thugs searching the alley, certain they heard a noise. Rihito closes his eyes in relief as the footsteps of their pursuers finally fade away. The boy proudly reveals this is his secret base, a place he knows better than anyone. Rihito's focus shifts back to his mission, asking the boy what he knows about the prisons for people with abilities. The boy correctly guesses Rihito wants to help the man who stood up to the next C-class boss. Promising to share what he knows, the child turns to leave, but Rihito warns him of the danger. The boy's face contorts into a chilling grin as he boasts about his survival skills in this harsh world. Rihito is momentarily stunned, realizing he doesn't even know his young guide's name. The child leads him to a new location, stopping abruptly as he announces their target has arrived. A large gate is suddenly flung open, revealing a blinding light from within. Rihito shields his eyes, caught completely off guard by the sudden ambush. The boy betrays him, pointing and accusing Rihito of being a traitor trying to escape. Now surrounded, Rihito kneels in defeat as the child and his former attackers loom over him. The blonde thug shoves Rihito forward, forcing him to move toward an unknown destination. A flashback reveals the desperate boy clutching scavenged food, his motivation still a mystery. Back in the present, the blonde thug suddenly stops, deciding on a new course of action for their captive. The flashback shows Rihito startling the boy as he gently takes the food pouch from his hands. He had kindly offered the food back, insisting that the still-growing child should eat it instead. The boy furiously rejects the gesture, screaming that the food was nothing more than bait to lure him out. He then lectures Rihito, telling him to stop resisting the boss and learn how their side of the world operates. With a smug grin, the boy attempts to recruit Rihito, promising him survival if he joins their crew. Rihito is stunned, realizing there might be another way to survive in this world without simply obeying. The scene shifts to a rundown building, the grim destination Rihito is being taken to. Elsewhere, Ayato sits bound to a chair in a desolate warehouse, completely at his captor's mercy. Ayato glares defiantly, his spirit unbroken despite his captivity. Tipped over but still smirking, he cynically wonders if they plan to starve him to death. His thoughts are interrupted as a ceiling tile is suddenly kicked in from above. A young boy with familiar blue eyes peers through the opening, asking for him by name. The mysterious child drops into the room, and Ayato demands to know who he is. Ignoring the question, the boy urgently offers him a bag of food, insisting he eat. Before Ayato can react, the boy suddenly clamps a hand over his mouth to silence him. He quickly explains that his current guard plans to let him starve, making the food a necessity. Their tense exchange is cut short by the sound of approaching guards, deciding to investigate a noise. The boy panics as footsteps echo closer, realizing their secret meeting is about to be discovered. Thinking fast, the boy launches himself back through the ceiling opening to make his escape. His motivation is revealed in a flashback. Rihito promised him endless food for befriending Ayato. Just as predicted, the guards storm in, with the blonde thug immediately spotting the open ceiling tile. He makes a desperate bid for freedom through a floor grate, but his escape is cut short. Cornered on the rooftop, he finds himself facing the thugs and their newly arrived boss. The imposing, white-haired boss simply points, commanding his underlings to seize the child. The thugs easily overpower the boy, his failed rescue attempt mocked as the food lies forgotten on the ground. The story shifts back to Rihito, who now sits defeated in a dark, isolated cell. His solitude is shattered as the boy is violently thrown into the cell with him. Rihito wryly observes that betraying him didn't save the boy, questioning if he's finally on their side now. The boy furiously rejects Rihito's words, his patience completely worn out. Curling into a ball of misery, he admits he can't bring himself to trust Rihito's story. Meanwhile, the blonde thug reports to his boss, questioning the boy's recent actions. Ayato, still bound, explodes with rage, demanding to know what happened to the child. The thug casually dismisses his concern, remarking that the boy was doomed anyway. Snapping from the defiance, the boss grabs Ayato by the throat, choking the words out of him. He reveals that a higher authority has spared Ayato's life, granting him one final chance. The scene shifts to a different part of the settlement, where a new character cautiously spies from behind a tent. Outside, the blonde thug forces a struggling Ayato to his knees in the dirt. A man in a leopard print vest gives Ayato a new task: retrieve supplies from a different district. Ayato stares up, his expression hardening with a sudden desperate resolve. The thugs reveal the mission is a suicide run into a district overrun with deadly chimeras. Their boss flashes a wicked grin, seeing this as the perfect way to dispose of Ayato. Ayato bravely strikes a deal, offering to retrieve the supplies in exchange for his friend's freedom. He points directly towards the building where his comrades are being held captive. Inside, Rihito and the boy watch from their cell, helpless witnesses to Ayato's sacrifice. The leopard-vested man accepts the terms with a deranged laugh, sealing the dangerous pact. A thug scoffs at Ayato's confidence, reminding him that the mission is impossible and he won't return alive. The thug then reports that a captive girl has been healed, presenting her to the boss. The boss gives the girl an approving look, pleased that she is ready for her part in his scheme. To prove his point, the leopard-vested man brutally strikes the captive girl. She collapses in agony, weeping from the unexpected and cruel blow. Ayato stands firm, ordering them to keep his friends fed until his return. The thug sneers, reminding him that if he fails, his friends will be eliminated. The girl stares up in terror, realizing her fate is now tied to Ayato's survival. From their cell, Rihito and the boy watch the horrifying scene unfold, completely helpless. Ayato is driven away in a truck, heading through a field toward the chimera-infested district. He sits in the back, cynically wondering if the supplies are hidden in the forest. The truck suddenly skids to a stop at the edge of the wilderness. He scans the ominous forest path, certain the drop point must be somewhere inside. Ayato calmly deduces the true, sinister nature of their plan. Back at the settlement, the thugs exchange smug glances, confident he's walking into a trap. The leopard-vested man admits he's thrilled to be rid of Ayato for good. The truck door slams shut, sealing his fate and beginning the perilous journey. He sits stoically inside, his gaze fixed on the road as they drive away. The leopard-vested man watches him depart through the side mirror, a faceless silhouette of doom. His true face reveals a twisted, triumphant grin, certain he's sent Ayato to his death. The truck rumbles deeper into the woods, carrying him toward the heart of the danger. Despite the odds, Ayato's eyes burn with an unyielding, sharp focus. He begins to strategize, already considering how to handle the chimeras that hunt in packs. Resigned to his fate, Ayato pushes aside his worries as the truck's wheels churn through the dirt. The vehicle rumbles deeper into the wilderness, kicking up a cloud of dust on the remote path. He senses the destination is close, his eyes remaining sharp and alert. Now, behind the wheel himself, he grips it tightly, navigating the rough road with grim determination. The truck speeds recklessly through the forest, a testament to the urgency of his mission. He scans the dense tree line, searching for any sign of the supply drop. His foot suddenly slams on the brake, bringing the truck to an abrupt and jarring stop. Ayato grits his teeth, realizing the boss's farewell gift was a meticulously planned trap. His anger quickly shifts to surprise as he spots something unexpected through the windshield. In a clearing ahead lies a small abandoned campsite, the supposed location of the supplies. He's suddenly thrown from the moving truck, tumbling hard onto the dirt path. Moments later, the truck erupts in a massive explosion, confirming the boss's lethal intentions. Lying in the grass, he wonders if his own counterplan was successfully sprung. He cautiously moves through the forest, using the terrain for cover. Ayato consults a device, planning to set up a GPS beacon for a drone to retrieve the supplies. Out of nowhere, a bladed tail whips through the air, narrowly missing his head. A spiny, monstrous chimera lunges at him from above, revealing the source of the attack. He quickly gets into a fighting stance, ready to counter the creature's assault. His expression shifts to surprise, realizing he's only facing a single chimera for now. The ground beneath him cracks and shatters, hinting at the immense power about to be unleashed. The chimera lunges with blinding speed, its glowing eyes fixed on its prey. Ayato calmly meets the charge, his blade poised to intercept the monstrous attack. He unleashes a swift, arcing slash, his sword glowing with a strange green energy. The creature recoils in agony as the corrosive energy eats away at its form. With the first threat neutralized, he stands victorious over the fallen beast. He grimaces, realizing the destroyed drone means he'll have to haul the supplies out himself. Spotting a sturdy vine, he quickly formulates a new, more manual plan. After fashioning a rope, he approaches the supply crates, ready for the long trek back. His focus sharpens, sensing that the easy part of the mission is already over. The true danger reveals itself as a whole pack of chimeras emerges from the trees, surrounding him completely. He recalls a warning that District C was a high-risk zone with at least 3 chimeras. Surrounded by the beasts, Ayato senses something is fundamentally wrong with this encounter. He analyzes their formation, realizing they aren't a single pack but 2 separate groups. The grim truth dawns on him. These creatures were chased out of their own territory and are now here. With no time to waste, he plants his foot firmly, preparing to launch himself into the fray. Ayato leaps into the air, diving blade first toward one of the unsuspecting monsters. He follows up with a devastating punch, his corrosive energy striking the creature's head. The remaining chimeras immediately close in, their claws reaching to overwhelm him. Just then, a mechanical whirring sound draws his attention to a drone flying high above the trees. The drone's camera focuses on the scene, its red light indicating it's actively recording the fight. The drone's thermal imaging reveals the chaotic positions of the chimeras on the battlefield. Ayato's furious gaze locks onto the sky, realizing he's the unwilling star of someone's broadcast. With no time to dwell on it, a trio of beasts lunges at him in a ferocious, coordinated assault. He fluidly weaves under a vicious swipe, preparing a devastating counterattack. His corrosive touch takes effect, causing one of the creatures to recoil as the energy eats away at it. Using the beast's head as a launch pad, he flips backward to create distance and reposition. His momentum carries him into a crushing elbow strike on a second unsuspecting monster. The chimera collapses instantly, its lifeless form crashing onto the forest floor. His brutal efficiency gives the remaining pack pause, their advance halting among the trees. He confirms his theory. The displaced packs can't coordinate, giving him the perfect opening to exploit. A bead of sweat drips down his face as a chilling realization dawns on him. He discovers a venomous substance on his shoulder, realizing he's been poisoned by the chimera's blood. The remaining creatures watch him intently, patiently waiting for the toxin to take effect. Sensing his weakness, two of the monsters lunge forward to finish him off. Despite the poison, he deflects a clawed hand, his grip on his blade remaining firm. His eyes narrow with fierce determination, refusing to succumb to the venom. He unleashes a powerful burst of energy, creating a shockwave to blast the creatures back. In the chaos, he lands a devastating punch directly to a monster's jaw. He's immediately swarmed again, fighting desperately against the overwhelming numbers. Pinned at the center of the onslaught, he holds his ground against the circle of monsters. The dust settles, revealing two chimeras still standing, unfazed by his last-ditch effort. Ayato pants heavily, the poison and exhaustion finally catching up to him. His body gives out as he stumbles, his footing failing him completely. He crashes to the ground, the impact showing just how spent he truly is. He realizes his energy is critically low, with only seconds of his ability left. Lying helpless, he watches the monsters close in, a sense of finality creeping in. But the thought of his waiting comrades fuels a final surge of defiance. With a roar of pure will, he launches himself forward for one last desperate charge. He grabs a chimera by the face, his hand glowing with corrosive intent. Ayato unleashes his remaining power, twisting the beast into a state of agonizing dissolution. He lands with a heavy thud, the force of his final attack completely spent. Using the dissolving beast as a springboard, he vaults away to create distance. The monster collapses into a pool of its own corrosive essence, its form completely obliterated. The adrenaline fades, leaving him reeling from the poison coursing through his veins. He spots the last remaining chimera, weakened but still a threat, and prepares to end it. With no energy left for his powers, he resorts to a brutal, hands-on finishing move. The final monster falls, leaving Ayato as the sole survivor of the bloody confrontation. Utterly spent, he collapses against a rock, the victory offering little comfort. His thoughts turn to the two chimeras that escaped, knowing the danger isn't truly over. He devises a new plan. Use the creature's blood to mask his scent from the remaining prey. One of the escaped chimeras, its red eyes glowing menacingly, peers over a cliff edge. An aerial view reveals the grim aftermath, with Ayato lying motionless among the defeated monsters. Concealed in the grass, he relies on his knowledge that the creatures hunt by scent, not sight. The two surviving chimeras leap away, abandoning the now silent battlefield. Far away, a lone bonfire burns in a desolate settlement, a beacon for those who wait. The drone's operator coolly reports no survivors based on his thermal camera feed. He raises his bottle in a smug toast, gloating that he predicted this very outcome. Ayato's comrades stare in disbelief, unable to process the news of his supposed demise. In a dark cell, a shackled young woman watches with hopeless eyes, a prisoner to their captors. The group of antagonists celebrates their victory, drinking cheerfully as they survey the scene. The captive woman sheds a single tear, her world shattering as she processes the news of his death. She slumps in her cell, all hope for rescue seemingly extinguished with their champion's fall. Meanwhile, one of the villains worries about explaining the loss of two chimeras to the powerful Shui ward boss. His partner reveals the beasts were borrowed from a grim rival, making their loss a serious political problem. The leader coolly dismisses the concern, confident that with the drone operator dead, their secret is safe. As the sun sets, Ayato lies motionless on the battlefield, appearing to be just another casualty of the fight. A sudden drop of rain splashes onto his face, causing him to gasp for air. Though his eyes remain closed, the rain seems to be slowly rousing him from his deep unconsciousness. A downpour begins to wash over the silent field, drenching his still form in the tall grass. Against all odds, his bandaged fingers twitch, a subtle but definitive sign of life. Ayato's eyes flutter open, his mind hazy as he questions his surroundings. A disorienting flash of the battle replays in his mind, the chimera's attack still vivid. His first thoughts are of his friends, a pang of worry striking him as he wonders how much time has passed. He grits his teeth, frustrated to find his body completely unresponsive to his will. With a desperate effort, he tries to stand, but his foot slides uselessly in the mud. His legs give out entirely, sending him crashing back to the wet earth. Memories of his promise and his friends' faces flood his mind, fueling his despair. Meanwhile, back at the settlement, one of his comrades cautiously observes a group of guards. It's Rihito, looking exhausted and worn down while on a water run. Suddenly he's ambushed, dropping the buckets to defend himself from an aggressive man. The thugs surround Rihito, mocking his weakness and daring the starved ability user to fight back. They deliver a crushing blow, telling him that his master is already dead. Fueled by disbelief and rage, Rihito denies their claim and lands a solid punch on his tormentor. His brief defiance is met with overwhelming force as he's brutally kicked to the ground. A young boy serving food watches the beating, thinking Rihito is a fool for resisting. A guard brandishes a blade, impatiently ordering the boy to stop gawking and dish out the food. The boy puts on a subservient smile, offering to add extra meat to the guard's plate to appease him. As the guard walks away satisfied, the boy deftly palms a round piece of food. Rihito sits alone in a desolate alley, beaten and grappling with the grim news. The young boy approaches, offering the stolen food and a stark reminder that justice is a luxury here. Rihito angrily throws the food back, demanding to know what the boy is trying to prove. He reflects on his bond with Saito, his one and only best friend since the world fell apart. With a pained glare, he insists a kid like him couldn't possibly comprehend their connection. The boy retorts by kicking the food, admitting he doesn't understand such sentimentality. He then challenges Rihito, telling him to stay alive if he truly wants to see his friend again. Overcome with rage and grief, Rihito smashes the food into the ground with his bare hand. He slumps against the wall, defeated and muttering about his own foolishness. From a distance, a white-haired girl with striking purple eyes observes his solitary despair. Later, this same girl is seen tending to another ally's wounds with a glowing green energy. She reveals her own power is fading, explaining she needs food to heal her own severe injuries. The man scoffs at her weakness, pointing out she collapsed after healing only 3 people. She glares back, explaining her healing powers are useless without food to sustain them. Enraged by her defiance, he grabs her by the throat, lifting her off her feet. He dismisses her as useless if she can't heal, threatening her for speaking out of turn. With a crazed grin, he boasts about his promotion to boss and offers her a grim fate in Sector C. Elsewhere, Ayato lies helplessly on the ground, his body still refusing to move. His stomach growls violently, a stark reminder of his desperate need for sustenance. Overwhelmed by hunger, he spots the leg of a fallen monster just within reach. Driven by sheer desperation, he opens his mouth to take a bite from the creature's corpse. But a flash of clarity hits him, his instincts screaming that this is a terrible mistake. He remembers a grim fact. A chimera's corpse is lethally poisonous to humans. Disregarding the risk, he consumes the toxic flesh, driven by the need to survive. Thoughts of his friends ignite a fiery resolve, his will to live overriding the immediate danger. His body is racked with agony as the potent poison courses through his veins. He collapses, overwhelmed by the excruciating pain of his desperate gamble. From a distance, he appears to have finally succumbed, lying motionless in the clearing. A strange calm settles over him as he lies on the ground, seemingly at peace. Suddenly his eye snaps open, wide with shock and renewed awareness. He sits up in a daze, questioning how he could possibly still be alive. Clenching his fist, he feels a surge of unfamiliar power coursing through him. Ayato marvels at the incredible energy now crackling around his bandaged fist. With newfound determination, he pushes himself up, his body now fully responsive. He tests his limits, effortlessly scaling the steep cliff wall in a blur of motion. His hand grips the ledge, easily pulling his entire weight without a hint of strain. Landing at the top with a powerful impact, he feels completely reborn. He settles into a low stance, a confident smirk on his face as he adapts to his new strength. Realization dawns on him. He somehow gained the formidable power of an A-rank ability user. He reflects that surviving the Chimera's toxins and fusing with them is an unprecedented feat. A flicker of doubt crosses his mind as he questions the potential side effects of this bizarre transformation. Shaking off his concerns, his priority shifts back to finding Rihito and his other comrades. Meanwhile, in the slums, Rihito endures a life of thankless labor and constant abuse. He sits alone in an alley, nursing his wounds and his shattered pride. He recalls watching helplessly as others were brutalized, a common sight in this sector. His memories are a cycle of taking hits without the strength to fight back. He's left curled on the ground, a familiar and humiliating position of defeat. Nearby, 2 flamboyantly dressed thugs mock the pathetic state of the downtrodden. But Rihito's eyes still burn with a defiant fire that refuses to be extinguished. His unbroken spirit enrages the gang's leader, who orders his men to deal with the boy. Suddenly, a can flies through the air, kicked with incredible superpowered force. It smacks Rihito right in the face, a shocking and unexpected interruption. The gang leader confronts a defeated Rihito, questioning why he skipped a job. His subordinate brutally strikes Rihito for his silence in front of the boss. The thug grinds his boot into Rihito's head, asserting his dominance. With a cruel smirk, the leader informs Rihito that he's next on the list. Elsewhere in the slums, another boy is captured, desperately proclaiming his innocence. The leader dismisses his pleas, declaring guilt by association with the fallen Ugumori. He seizes the boy, callously remarking that the powerless are expendable. Turning back to Rihito, the leader scoffs at his loyalty to a friend who supposedly betrayed him. He grabs Rihito's collar with a crazed look, promising to bury him alongside his friend's corpse. Despite the pain, Rihito fiercely refutes the claim, insisting that Saito is still alive. The leader tightens his grip, intent on silencing Rihito's defiant words for good. Rihito glares back with pure, unadulterated fury, his spirit refusing to be broken. The gang leader's eye twitches, enraged by the boy's unwavering stare. He shoves Rihito to the ground, preparing to make a public example of him. With a furious roar, the leader raises a heavy club to deliver a final, brutal blow. Rihito looks up in terror, bracing for the devastating impact about to descend on him. But in that split second, a calm and determined eye watches from the sidelines. A wooden sandal suddenly flies through the air with impossible speed and precision. It smashes squarely into the leader's face, stopping his attack cold. A new figure appears in a flash, slamming the stunned leader into a wall with a powerful kick. The sheer force of the kick sends a shockwave rippling through the ground. Sprawled on the floor, the dazed thug looks up in utter disbelief, recognizing his assailant. Ayato stands before him, a silent and impossible figure returned from certain doom. Onlookers gasp, unable to comprehend how anyone could survive an encounter with 3 chimeras. One man's shock turns to elation as he spots the precious supplies Ayato brought with him. The recovered crates stand as undeniable proof of his incredible and successful mission. The crowd erupts, lifting their returned hero into the air and hailing him as a savior. Watching the celebration, the true leader of the gang smirks at the hero's unexpected reappearance. His subordinate scrambles over, frantically insisting that the boy can't possibly be real. The thug panics internally, realizing that if Ayato reveals the truth about Sector C, his own life is forfeit. The scene shifts to a dilapidated building, a silent witness to the unfolding drama. Rihito stares in tearful disbelief, barely able to speak his friend's name. Overcome with emotion, he rushes forward, scolding Ayato for his reckless return. He embraces Ayato, confessing he never lost faith in his friend's survival. A young admirer asks Ayato how he managed to return alive from a sector known to house 3 chimeras. The defeated thug's eyes widen in rage at the mention of the chimeras. He furiously shouts down the young boy, trying to silence any talk of Sector C. Ayato coolly intervenes, questioning the thug's hostile reaction to a simple truth. He calmly asks if the information about the 3 chimeras was wrong, cornering the flustered thug. Watching this exchange, the real gang leader narrows his eyes, sensing something is very wrong with his subordinate's panicked behavior. The group gathers around a crackling bonfire, the only light in the desolate slum. Ayato recounts his harrowing tale, admitting he thought he was done for when the other 2 chimeras joined the fight. With a confident smirk, he vaguely claims to have taken down a few of the beasts. The thug, Sean, loudly questions Ayato's math, reminding everyone there were supposed to be 3 chimeras. Sean's face contorts in panic as he realizes the dangerous game Ayato is playing in front of the true leader. The other boys are in awe, praising Ayato as the only one besides their boss capable of such a feat. The real gang leader, intrigued by the commotion, coolly invites everyone to listen to the hero's tale. Sean desperately tries to discredit Ayato, suggesting he's lying and never even saw a chimera. Ayato turns the tables with a sharp glance, pointing out that Sean is the one who should know the truth. He then casually approaches the real boss, offering to fill him in on the details his subordinate conveniently left out. Sean frantically tries to stop Ayato from speaking to the boss. He scoffs, telling Ayato not to get arrogant over defeating a few beasts. Ayato smirks, casually downplaying his incredible feat of survival and success. Desperate, Sean points out Ayato's lack of injuries as proof he's lying about the fight. The boss questions Sean's strange obsession with the chimeras, noting the supplies are all that matter. Ayato corners Sean, demanding to know why he lied about Saito's fate when he was watching the whole time. Sean's internal panic reveals he hid the truth about a massive chimera ambush from his own boss. The leader's suspicion grows, directly asking his subordinate why he's acting so strangely. Trapped by the questions, Sean stammers, unable to find an excuse for his lies. With a sharp blow, Ayato interrupts, declaring the entire situation a simple misunderstanding. Ayato smoothly provides a plausible excuse for Sean's mistake, claiming the cold masked his presence from the camera. The boss, completely convinced, beams at Ayato and offers him any reward he desires for his success. Ayato makes his bold request, asking for control over the camp's supply management as his prize. Sean erupts in fury, vehemently protesting Ayato's bid for a position of power. Ayato lays out the strategic problem, revealing that supply deliveries from the World Organization have become unreliable. He presents himself as the perfect solution, leveraging his proven ability to handle both beasts and logistics. The boss decisively silences Sean's frantic objections with a single commanding gesture. With a confident smile, the leader agrees to the terms and hands over a keycard, granting Ayato control. Ayato accepts the card with a look of quiet triumph, formally taking his new position. But as the card changes hands, the boss's grip tightens, revealing there's a catch to his offer. The boss reveals the catch with a sinister smile, making Ayato the new designated runner for all dangerous supply missions. A concerned Rihito pulls Ayato aside, urging him to reconsider the dangerous new responsibility. Ayato, however, remains resolute, viewing this dangerous new position as both his right and his duty. The crowd, oblivious to the hidden danger, erupts in cheers and toasts their new hero by the bonfire. Ayato later confronts Sean, smugly questioning why he wasn't eliminated when the opportunity was perfect. Seething with rage, Sean resolves to eliminate Ayato quickly before his mysterious plan can unfold. The gang leader and Sean watch with sinister intent as Ayato and Rihito walk away from the fire. Meanwhile, the young admirer from earlier watches them leave from the shadows, his expression filled with concern. Their destination is a spacious, well-stocked tent, a clear upgrade that would leave their old admirer in awe. Ayato proudly declares this new setup their home, while Rihito still looks uncertain about their sudden change in fortune. Rihito emotionally tells Ayato that their friendship is forever, even with their newfound status. Ayato grumbles, accusing his friend of taking advantage of the emotional moment. The two friends break the tension with a moment of playful roughhousing. Ayato's expression turns serious as he tells Rihito they need to have a private conversation. Rihito questions the sudden shift in mood as they stand alone among the supply crates. He sits down and bluntly asks if Ayato realizes the boss never wanted him to return. Ayato clarifies that the boss simply chose to be ignorant of Sean's treacherous scheme. He casually pops open a can, his bandaged hand a reminder of his recent battle. Ayato leans back and takes a long, thoughtful drink, contemplating the situation. With a knowing look, he quietly affirms that Rihito's assessment of the boss is correct. Rihito correctly identifies the new position as a power play disguised as a dangerous trap. He then questions why Ayato accepted the role, reminding him the gang was celebrating his presumed demise. Ayato leans back coolly, cryptically asking his friend what he thinks he truly encountered in Sector C. Rihito's face fills with alarm as he guesses the obvious answer, chimeras. With a grim expression, Ayato reveals the shocking truth. He faced not 3 but 8 of the monsters. Rihito is stunned into silence, completely floored by the impossible odds his friend overcame. He connects the dots, realizing Sean must have known about the other 5 beasts and left Ayato for dead. Ayato smirks, raising his drink and declaring this betrayal is exactly why he needs the power to stand against Sean. Still in disbelief, Rihito asks the critical question. How did Ayato emerge unscathed from a battle against 8 chimeras? Ayato places a reassuring hand on his friend's shoulder, cryptically pointing out that neither of them has a scratch. Rihito points to Ayato's bandaged hand, confused by his friend's claim of being uninjured. He then makes a stunning confession, suggesting that he himself might be an A rank. The statement hangs in the air, leaving Rihito himself utterly bewildered by his own words. His mind slowly begins to process the incredible implication of what he just said. The full realization finally hits him with the force of a tidal wave. Ayato, flustered, quickly tries to shut down his friend's loud and sudden outburst. Rihito grapples with the idea, noting how exceptionally rare A-rank individuals are in the world. He theorizes that Ayato must have met a mysterious sage in Sector C who granted him this power. Ayato reveals the shocking truth. He ate chimera meat out of desperation and fused with its poison, gaining intermittent A-rank abilities. Overjoyed, Rihito comically latches onto his friend's leg, ready to be supported for life. Their private talk is cut short as Ayato's sharp senses detect an unseen presence. A small stone is flicked with precision, aimed to expose the hidden listener. The projectile strikes its target, forcing the young admirer to stumble out from the shadows. Rihito immediately recognizes the boy and angrily confronts him for eavesdropping. He complains to Ayato that this is the same kid he tried to help earlier, only to be scolded. Ayato calmly intervenes, vouching for the boy and telling Rihito to stand down. Rihito reveals the boy's kindness, explaining he snuck food to him in the cell, which resulted in a beating from Sean. The pieces click into place for Ayato as he remembers seeing the boy injured after this act of compassion. A guilty Rihito apologizes for the trouble his own capture caused the young boy. The boy puffs out his chest, rejecting the apology and declaring that survival of the fittest is the only rule that matters. Rihito playfully scolds the boy for his noble act, ruffling his hair in jest. The scene abruptly shifts to a flashback of a man shoving a shackled, silver-haired girl away. Ayato's expression hardens as he observes the memory of the girl's mistreatment. The silver-haired girl's face lights up with tearful relief, overjoyed to see that he survived. Rihito looks on with concern, remarking that the girl has clearly been through a terrible ordeal. The young admirer issues a stark warning, telling them not to interfere as the girl belongs to Kanazawa. The story leaps forward 1 month, finding Ayato walking alone through the bleak makeshift city. He strolls through the compound with a relaxed confidence, humming a tune as he walks. Rihito approaches with a clipboard, cheerfully reporting that he's finished the drinking water inventory. Ayato takes the clipboard and dismisses his friend, telling him to go eat while he handles the remaining tasks. Rihito cheerfully waves goodbye, making plans for drinks later as Ayato walks away. Left alone in the massive warehouse, Ayato begins the tedious task of checking the supply inventory. As he counts, his sharp senses pick up a faint noise, causing him to peer through a gap in the shelves. A slight rustle from behind a stack of crates confirms his suspicion that he is not alone. His eyes narrow with suspicion, focusing intently on the source of the disturbance. He discovers the silver-haired girl from a month ago, now looking like a petty thief caught stealing food. Startled, the girl desperately shoves a piece of bread into her mouth, caught red-handed. Her eyes widen in pure terror as she looks up and recognizes the person who found her. The girl scrambles back, begging for forgiveness out of hunger as Ayato reaches out to her. He gently takes her hand, trying to calm her down and remind her of who he is. Ayato softly confirms her name, Ugumori Saito, his expression gentle. He then questions why she's skulking in the warehouse instead of being somewhere safe. Ayato notes with a smile that she can speak now, complimenting her voice to ease her fear. Terrified of being caught, she pleads with him to let her go, admitting she snuck in. His demeanor shifts as he turns away, pointedly asking if she's planning an escape. He reveals he's known about the missing supplies, connecting them to her plan to run away. She tries to flee, shouting that her plans are none of his concern. A look of panicked resolve crosses her face as she realizes she can't involve him in her dangerous situation. Ayato swiftly grabs her before she can get away, firmly declaring that it is his business. He releases her and offers a deal, food from his tent in exchange for answers about her reckless survival plan. Ayato leads the way through the dark, desolate compound, flashlight in hand. The scene shifts to a different part of the warehouse district, setting the stage for another encounter. Elsewhere, the young admirer frantically searches for something he desperately needs. He rummages through the supply depot, convinced the alcohol he's looking for should be there. From the shadows above, Ayato watches the boy's search with an air of casual omniscience. He dangles the very bottle the boy seeks, effortlessly revealing he was 1 step ahead. The boy's eyes widen with relief, overjoyed to have found what he was looking for. Clutching the booze, the boy's nervous smile reveals he's up to something shady. Ayato's demeanor darkens as he grabs the boy, exposing a plot to frame him by swapping Kanazawa's liquor. With a flick of his wrist, Ayato hurls the bottle like a missile, putting a violent end to the scheme. The scene shifts to Kanazawa's tent, where tensions are about to boil over. An enraged Kanazawa berates his underlings, furious that their scheme to frame Ayato has failed. His men explain their defeat, admitting Ayato's security measures were too tight to bypass. The young admirer fearfully recounts how Ayato had already seen through their plot and dismissed it. Livid at Ayato's confidence, Kanazawa unleashes his frustration on the boy with a brutal strike. Fed up with his minions' incompetence, he storms off, determined to take matters into his own hands. The boy tries to reason with him, warning that Ayato is already aware of their hostile intentions. Kanazawa's eyes burn with rage as he completely ignores the caution, driven by his wounded pride, A twisted smile forms as he promises a special kind of retaliation for Ayato's interference. His new plan is revealed, escalating the stakes dramatically with a handgun from a hidden box. Kanazawa reveals his twisted new scheme, planning to frame Ugamori by planting the forbidden handgun in her tent.